Hello, everyone, and welcome. I hope you can hear me well. For those who don't know me, my name is Hanna Sanitrník-Minaříková, and I'll be your host for today's webinar aimed to modern workforce security. It's great to see so many of you interested in learning more about workforce security because it is an important area that's becoming increasingly important and practical. A quick note before we get started. The webinar is being recorded and we will send both the recording and also the presentation to all participants by Monday. So don't worry if you miss anything. We've got you covered and you get all you need to have. Now let me welcome our first speaker, Hung Ngo, cybersecurity engineer, public speaker, lecturer, and also cybersecurity specialist in Škoda Auto. He will dive into the topic of workforce security and the threat posed by info stealers.
Hey everyone, sorry, seems that Hannah is not the only one who is having technical issues today, which is why I'm really happy that I got the opportunity to be here today to talk to you about a topic I'm quite passionate about, which is workforce security, and why is it important in the overall cyber defense. My name is Hungo. I work as a cybersecurity specialist for Škoda Auto, where I'm mainly involved with the operational security, and workforce security is something that's quite close to me, since a lot of the security incidents are related, in fact, to the workforce security. Besides working full-time within cybersecurity, I also give lectures, I speak at the conferences, I co-organize a conference myself, and in case you would find my blabbering interesting, you can always reach out to me either via my website or via LinkedIn. I will much appreciate that. But today is not really about me. Today is about workforce security. So first we should maybe talk about what workforce security really is. Basically, workforce security is important because it's all about protecting the company sensitive information, and the way we are protecting it is by ensuring that only the people who should access the information can access the information. We can do that by setting an access rights. We can also train our employees so they will know what they should do and what they shouldn't do. We are often monitoring the employees and monitoring the confidential data, and then we are also setting up various policies, one of which is, for example, for the password length and for the devices that we use. And these policies then can restrict and help us build the workforce security. With workforce security, there's something that's really entangled with it. It's something called digital identity. A digital identity is something that every one of us has. It's basically a set of identifiers or attributes we all have. Which can associate, or which in combination can be associated either with the individual or with the organization or with the device. One of the examples can be, for example, email addresses or our biometric data, for example, our fingerprints or our face or everything that's basically related to us in a physical sense can be deemed as a digital identity as well. For some people, that might be social media profiles or the digital certificates that we all hold. And protecting these digital identities is especially important in a modern age. The reason why the workforce security matters and why it matters, at least now, or why it's more important at the moment, is because there are more factors that are affecting why the workforce security is important. One of which is, for example, today, as I have seen within the chat, we have people all around the world. We have moved more towards working remotely, and that's especially after the COVID-19. So the employees are, for example, working remotely, they are using their own devices, and we have to make sure that they can connect to the work environment safely. Also, what we can also see is that cyber criminals are targeting employees. The reason why is because we as a humans, we often make mistakes. At the beginning of my talk, you have seen me make a mistake by not unmuting myself and embarrassing myself. And the cyber criminals take advantage of this. And instead of overcoming the technologies, they are often affecting us as the weakest link within the chain. And one of the ways how they are or how they are targeting us is by using various malwares. And one of which is, for example, info stealer. An info stealer is a type of a malware which can steal credentials, access tokens, and a lot of stuff and exfiltrate it quite fast. I will talk about it on the later slide. Also, one of the things that I wanted to point out is that in the past we were accustomed to people going into the offices and working, let's say, in one building. So the way how we built security controls and defenses was mainly by relying on firewalls or on locking the documents within the physical containers, and the password policies that we had at the time were quite, let's say, lacking. People were writing passwords on the notes and sticking them everywhere. Now, we can see that less and less people are actually going into the offices. So that means that workforce security, the same way as we as people are working, it evolved. So the workforce security has to evolve as well. For example, in 2010, we were able to observe that more and more companies were moving into clouds. We were transferring to AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and more other providers. The reasons were mainly to save costs, but also because it provided us with convenience to work more efficiently and to mainly be able to work remotely. People started, or the employees started using or accessing their data from multiple devices. They've used personal devices to access the data, or their mobile phones, for example. This really affected the massive spread of technologies such as single sign-on or multi-factor authentication, mainly for the cloud applications which the employees needed to use in their day-to-day operations. And this even spiked after COVID, because during the pandemic, most of us we were locked in our houses and we were not able to go and work the way that we've worked before. And this really increased the whole threat landscape that we are seeing today. So what I wanted to mention is that we cannot use the old and the traditional way how we were able to secure ourselves, but we are forced, and we should do some changes and implement technologies such as MFA. And the reason why MFA is important because it helps us to even more protect our digital identity, and it can help us protect the access to the sensitive systems we are working with or the data. But of course, MFA by itself is not an universal way how or it's not flawless. It has some issues. For example, there are attacks that the attackers can use, for example, to swap the telephone numbers, or to, for example, flatten MFA with multiple requests, and they can also overcome the weak MFA factors such as security questions, for example. we are more and more able to see that we are moving into passwordless, or that we are authenticating ourselves to the system using biometric. And a lot of the times, the MFA is also evolving in a sense of being adaptive. It is looking for a context. For example, if an user is connecting to a system from a location which is unknown or which might be risky, it can move us, or it can give us a hint that there might be an active attack going on. So the MFA is evolving as well. And the same way as MFA is involving, also the threats themselves are involving. And today I would like to talk about info stealers, which I personally see as one of the largest issues within the threat landscape, or at least in the modern threat landscape, especially. Because they can be used really easily. For those who don't know, or who for whom is it is first time that they are hearing this term, infostealers are basically a type of a malware that can harvest a wide range of sensitive information. It can be credentials, it can be session tokens, it can be cookies, it can be the data that we are filling into the logging forms, or even keys from our cryptocurrency wallets, in case we are using them. But the largest issue that I am seeing with the info stealers is that it is really easy to use them. Often they are even sold on the darknet as or dark web, sorry, as malware as a service. So basically, anyone with the access to the dark web can buy an info stealer and use it within their campaign. And in case our detections are not good, we are not able to combat that. Also, info stealers are quite fast. They can operate quickly, and we are daily seeing that they are exfiltrating the data from the impacted systems really fast. And also these data are then, for example, sold on the dark web, on various marketplaces, and they are the first way how the attackers are then accessing the systems and moving laterally. I have an example of a successful attack from 2022, which I will talk about, where the info stealers were one of the main issues. This is a picture from a dark web where we can see an info steal which is sold for merely $110, which is not that much actually. And a lot of the times it's quite easy to buy these either via dark web or from some other ways. Nowadays, a lot of activities are, for example, moved into Discord chats or Telegrams groups where the criminals are often exchanging this malware for a fee. And I wanted to highlight one incident from the past. It's a recent past, actually. It's an incident of a company called Uber from 2022, where the attackers were able to gain compromised credentials that were stolen by an info stealer and use it to launch a successful campaign against the company. And the results were, let's say, not that bad for a company, but it really raised some red flags for us. In 2022, Uber suffered a breach where attackers, we can see them here on my really snazzy infographics, they were able to compromise an Uber internal network. And the way how they did it was by firstly buying a stolen set of credentials. Then they've used these credentials uh, to start flooding an MFA of an employee. the employee under this MFA flooding, meaning that on his device he got a bunch of notifications to allow the attackers to join into the network. One of the issues here is that MFA flooding is really, or we can see it if the MFA is weak. So that was one of the first issues. And after the attackers got into the company, they started scanning Uber's infrastructure to be able to move from a server to a server, and they started to look for critical things and for confidential data. After some time, they've observed that on some of the network shares on the servers, they find PowerShell scripts. PowerShell by itself is not an issue, and a lot of the times it cannot be turned off, since administrators have to use PowerShell in order to administer Windows machines. But the issue is that the attackers were able to find hard-coded credentials within those scripts, meaning that those scripts were on the servers and they were doing some functionality for the company, and whoever created those didn't put in much thought, and the scripts contained hard-coded credentials. These credentials can be they can be seen within the scripts, and the attackers were able to use them. So they started looking for systems which they can then compromise in the internal network. And they found out that the credentials were for something that's called TISAX Privilege Access Management Tool. Basically, a privilege access management tool is a tool that is allowing you, for example, to temporarily elevate yourself to a local administrator, or it also contains the credentials for other systems. And with the access to the compromised PAM module, they were able to then laterally move throughout the company. So they got into their cloud environment, they got into their Google Workspace, to their internal communication via Slack, to some internal documents and such. So it was quite of a disaster for a company. As we know, Uber still exists, so they were able to bounce back from this attack. But this incident really pointed out several issues. One of which was that we should use MFA, but the MFA that we are using have to be of a standard. Then also we should never hard code credentials within these scripts. So these were the two major pain points of the Uber 22 incident. And that would be all from my side. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or to post them into the chat. Thank you all. Thank you all, and I will hang out with the rest of the guys, as I'm sure that, or I'm really looking forward to their presentations. I was able to observe them before, so I know that you can really look forward to them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Hung, for your educative presentation. And I hope it's clear how crucial it is to stay ahead of these threats now. Next up, we have Jakub Barberik, who will guide us through various authentication methods and their advantages and disadvantages. And Jakub, please feel free to jump into your presentation.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Again, the microphone, the same as home.
Hello. It's
okay. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here with you as we try to help you with your company security. And my main focus today will be on the authentication and multi-factor authentication. From a real life perspective, we try to protect our belongings, our families. So we try to protect our homes, our houses. And we usually have just one entrance. We have like main door to our houses. That's we try to have really like a secure access. But with our companies, it's different. We don't have just one door, which our users, our employees are using, but today our employees are using multiple applications and systems. They need to log in, and each of these applications is an entry point into our company, to our data, into apps that are inside the company, that are in the cloud. So we need to protect these entry points, because these aren't only entry points for the users, for our employees, but also for the attackers, as Hung mentioned, and you could see on the example he presented. So we need to protect these entrances, and that's why the attackers try to attack the identity of the employees. And these days, there are many different attacks that are aimed on the identity. And then by getting into the system, for example, they can run ransomware and other malwares inside of the perimeter of our companies. So it's really important to use multi-factor authentication and to secure the authentication into our company. We're, I think, quite familiar with the concept of multi-factor authentication. It's that in the process of authentication, we use different types of factors. So something you know, like a password, and then something you have, like your phone number, for example, and something you are, like your biometric scan or face ID. So we try to ensure there are more factors during the authentication, but that's not really enough, because different methods gives us different security assurance. Going from really low assurance, like which gives the passwords, then methods based on the phone number. Then we have OTPs. These goes into like a low assurance area. And then we have like mobile app that are really specific for the authentication, or smart card or other hardware tokens that can securely store the keys within the token. Let's briefly go through these methods. We have been using passwords for years, but they were really prone to brute force attacks. So we started to make the complexity higher. But as the complexity goes higher, the users, they're unable to remember these complex passwords. So they try to work it out somehow. So, for example, 62% of the users, they are sending them or saving their passwords in messages or emails. They write them on the sticky notes, or they have it in the unsecure document on their disk, where they have all the passwords to all your systems. Or they use one really complex password, but they use it for all the systems. And not only your company systems, but they use it for their personal accounts. So when there is a data breach within some application that they use with the personal accounts, many times the attackers try to take those passwords and they try to run it inside the company they are working. And many times they are successful because they use just one password. So the way we go forward is we combine the password with another factor, or we go completely passwordless. When we combine it, the first and most common in the past was the SMS or a call. So it's easy to adopt. Everybody has a phone number, so we can try it. But there are issues, as we heard. There is SIM swap attack, which is actually quite common and not that hard to make. It's the attacker contacts your operator and he persuades him that it's you, and he gets SIM or eSIM, and he has your number. And there were various attacks done this way. or there is a malware on the phone of your employee that can read the SMS, or even sometimes the SMS can be read even when the phone is not locked. So the SMS isn't really a very secure method of authentication. Moving forward, we go to OTPs. You either use hardware tokens or software tokens. But there are also issues with the OTP generators. Let's talk about the hardware tokens. They also seems quite easy to get, but they can be quite expensive when you have a big company with many users, and the adoption of this factor isn't that much easy. In case of theft, there isn't any protection when generating the code. Anybody with the token can generate the codes and use it for authentication. With the software tokens, this is a method that many applications have by default these days, but it's not really secure. Most of the users, they are using like general apps where they scan all kinds of QR codes with the secrets, and they have all their OTPs in one app. You as an employer have no controls many times over the apps. You don't have the device they have the app on. It can be on the compromised device. So there can be a malware that gets to all the secrets within the app. Many times there are insecure backups. So you have like no control. And if anybody gets to the secret that's shared through a QR code, he can generate the OTPs, and you have no idea that somebody else has the secret. And that's also a main issue. There are shared secrets. So there is same secret in the generator as on the backend. If somebody gets access to the backend, he gets all the secrets and he can generate all the OTPs. It's still a single factor, so the password is required. And although the TOTPs have a time span, they are still prone to phishing. And now we are going really a step higher. If we want to implement really secure, the mobile phone gives us this opportunity to implement really secure multi-factor authentication, but we need to use specialized application that's made for the authentication. The great thing about the mobile application is that it can be really easy. The UX can be really easy, and the adoption for the users is really great because they are already used to this concept of approving requests in the apps from the banking sector, where it's required these days. So it's easy for them to start using it. It's even easier when they use a biometric, and they can go passwordless because the mobile application can itself be a multi-factor or two-factor authentication tool. It's at the beginning you activate the application. There is a key generated in the phone, so that's something you have. You have enrolled application. And then when you want to authenticate and you are approving the request and using biometric or a PIN, that's something you know or something you are. So there are two factors that can a mobile application itself bring to the user. Many devices these days, they have hardware key storage. And this application can use this hardware key storage for storing asymmetric cryptographic keys. And when using asymmetric crypto, we're not vulnerable to single point of failure like with a shared secret. So we can use asymmetric cryptography, and the keys are stored just within the phone. And be sure when you are using a mobile solution for the MFA, be sure that the application itself ensures some device security. It can scan the runtime, the applications can scan how secure the environment of the phone is, if it's jailbroken or rooted, or if the application was installed from an unsecure store, not from the official ones. There are different threats that it can scan, and it can lock out the user from the authentication. So this is really important that the application you are using really have this layer of security. But as Hunk mentioned, there are still attacks like push fatigue attack. They are trying to attack the user with many push notifications, and he finally accepts one. There are different approaches. For example, code verification, when the user needs to verify the same code on the mobile device and on the device he's logging into. But these days there is also this approach like anonymous QR code. Many banks are starting to using these for logging to their systems, and it's very user-friendly approach. The user is presented with a QR code. He just takes his phone, opens the app, scans the QR code, approve, and that's the moment when it's connected to his or her identity, approves it with a biometric, and he's logged in. He doesn't need to write a username or anything into the web browser. It's nicknameless and it's passwordless. So it's really easy, and there are no push notifications involved. Last but not least is the hardware tokens, or let's talk about the smart card. Yeah, it's a hardware token. Again, there is maybe there are pros and cons with the adoption of the tool, but still, you are giving your employees a tool that you really believe in, that really have a secured keys inside. They can use asymmetric cryptography with it. And again, they can go passwordless. They have one card they can use for all the systems. It's still a hardware token, but with a card, it's really great that it can be a multi-tool. It's not a tool just for authentication, but it can be also a visual ID, and it can be also used for a contactless scenario for physical security, not only logical security. So in many companies where you need to have a card for a visual ID or working in a production, that's a great tool that you have one tool for everything. And you can also use it for a digital signature. So that's a great way how to protect the users in so many areas, and it's really a secure way. So to sum it up, MFA methods really matter. So be careful when implementing MFA. Go for the ones that really gives you a high assurance of security, like the mobile app and a smart card or some other hardware token which carries the keys inside really securely. If you're interested in a consultation, we can give you that. If you want to consult your authentication methods you are currently using or the digital identity security, you can scan the code and contact us. We will gladly help you out. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Jakub, for shedding light on the pros and cons of different authentication methods. That was really helpful, I think. And now it's time for our last speaker, Jiří Změlík, who will walk us through employees' daily routines linked to their digital identity. He also shares practical examples of how to secure these routines effectively and conveniently.
Yeah, hello. I couldn't leave my colleagues in it.
Thank you for it.
So, please, can you just confirm that you can see my presentation?
Yes, we can see and we can hear you well.
Okay, great. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jiří Změlík, and my talk today is about secure workforce identity in a modern organization. By that, I mean a secure workforce identity done right and done without compromises. So we can just dive into it and basically have a look at just a typical organization with good few hundreds or even thousands of employees, where this amount of people can definitely be divided in different employee groups because they will have different needs. They will need to do different use cases and so on. So first of all, we can start with a production or blue collars, for example, as they are called, people active in the manufacture itself. On the other hand, we have the white collars, so people working mainly in the offices, where they are also accompanied by a group of IT administrators, and as well we have the management and the top management. So already there's four groups with four different needs, but the perimeter doesn't end up here. It goes way beyond that. So if this was about the company, then we still have people that work for the company, but they are not present in it. Followed by people that work for the company, but they are not employed in the company. So typically, these could be consultants. And when we speak about manufacturing or production, it's very likely to have multiple companies that will be somehow involved in the manufacturing process, and they would still be accessing the same application, dealing with the same data, and basically be part of the whole ecosystem. So based on what my colleagues were presenting before, I think they made a great introduction. We can see that the first area we need to secure or we're dealing with in every organization is the physical security. So something that is, I would say, the most advanced in a typical organization. So typically, the employees would have a tool in the form of an employee badge, sometimes serving as a visual ID that will allow them to securely move within the physical perimeter of the company, entering doors, calling elevators, monitoring their attendance, and so on, interact with some devices like printers. They can also get lunch with the same card in the canteen. So this is the first area that the company has to think about well. The second one is the logical security, as we call it. So the way how we securely access systems and applications. So here, every one of you can now basically think of all the applications that you are using on a daily basis, and it doesn't matter if it's your own app or if it's a third-party app, if it's the operating system of your computer, and so on. So here we have again multiple options. Let's hope there is at least a password. And there are also other options that mainly Jakub was mentioning, like OTP or linking emails, or you can even use like built-in biometrics in the laptops to access the computer, and so on and so on. So the problem here is that in reality, it is going to be passwords a lot. So even if people use them, and they can sometimes be, let's say, evaluated as secure enough, the problem is that they would have to be long. Their validity would not be probably longer than 1 or 2 months. But the trouble is that the volume of all the passwords is going to be too big, and then it actually ends up as the guys described before. So people would be storing it somewhere or using the same passwords for multiple apps, and so on and so on. So this is actually a really big pain of every company, and I'm sure that this would be the core of what they are dealing with. The last thing is the way we handle documents and sign them, because we all have to do it. So I guess it is it is normal to sign documents physically, but on the other hand, I doubt there is any company that is not at least thinking about digitizing documents and the way they manage the documents. So to be able to securely sign or eventually seal a document is also becoming very important. So that's all we want our employees to do right. But their reality is a little bit different because they are being constantly told what they need to do right, to behave responsibly, and the amount of those use cases and routines and authorizations is growing all the time. So as this was growing, and when there was some kind of a solution to this, they are very likely to be given multiple tools to deal with these many use cases. And so the biggest trouble is that on one side, the company really needs it to secure the perimeter. On the other hand, the biggest thing they face is that overall it is really hard to adapt because of the policies, because of the employees, and so on and so on. So what we believe in ProID is to provide solutions that are very secure on one side, but they are also user-friendly. So what we are talking about here today lies right in the middle. So again, if we look at the employee and then everything they are being asked to do right, is that you can already see it starts with logging into the computers. Then if they are not working from the company premises, they need to use VPN or remote desktop. The amount of third-party applications can grow easily to a couple dozens. There are companies that have multiple apps made by themselves or specifically designed for them. The admins have their own applications they are dealing with and are crucial for the secure running of the organization. And then the whole physical security world that we've also covered, topped by the signing. So even if there is a company that is dealing with these issues responsibly, it is very likely that it's going to be exactly like that. So there will be at least 3 different kinds of tools that the employee must have and must know how to handle them, must not lose them, and they still would have to be very secure to fulfill everything. Or the way how we want to look at it, the way we want it to be, and I also believe the way all the employees wish it is like that, is to have a single tool or potentially multiple tools that are equally powerful, but also very user-friendly, so they would be willing to use them and they would not mind to, let's say, adopt any other use cases because it would just be natural and it would all be done with the same principle. So again, we've got 3 main areas that we believe are covered by what we call the secure workforce identity. And that is to be able to securely log into systems and applications, the way to be able to electronically handle documents up to the highest qualified level, and the way the person moves within the physical perimeter of the company. To make this full and or complete, it is also necessary to have some kind of a platform that is able to manage all the people. Because again, when we speak about hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people that are using one or multiple tools, it is definitely needed some good way to handle everyone, everything, and potentially also certificates if they are part of our use cases. So this is exactly what ProID platform is about. We've been running on for about 16 years, and today we have more than 170,000 people using our solution every single day. They come from 180 organizations, so we're not a new player to this area, and we can definitely lean on some very nice references. What we can offer is also something that again was very nicely touched by Jakub, and we have a selection of tools that are either 100% in-house made or with our or we've done whatever we could to adopt it in our portfolio and make sure it is very compatible with the whole platform. So first of all, it's smart card. Second of all, it's a smartphone app. And the third option we have is some kind of a wristband, which maybe hasn't been covered today. So that would be a very comfortable way how to authenticate. And again, something that would be good to be used, let's say, in manufacturing or, for example, healthcare, when like doctors and nurses need to have their hands free. So good thing is that everyone can, that this can be distributed within the company, as well as a single user can have potentially multiple tools to serve as a full replacement in case I lose my phone or damage my card or something else. Maybe you can ask like how difficult that is to integrate with, because you may already use some kind of a physical security system or something like that. So from our point of view, it is pretty easy because we take your identity source and we integrate with it. Typically, it's Active Directory or Azure Active Directory, or it could be something else. The readers you have are very likely to be compatible with our systems, so there is no need to change them and no need to change your access control provider, your attendance provider, and so on. We can easily integrate with that. And speaking about basically replacing the cards with the contact chip or providing the smartphone app, we can integrate with all the legacy apps you have, your own apps, and the third-party apps that you are using. And this would be done for authentication or, as I said, for signing or sealing. So in the end, if we go back to the very beginning of the presentation, how it's going to look like. So we have people in the production that could very much use our smart cards or potentially the wristbands. And people in the office are easy to use our smartphone app, or they can have the card as well. Same with the admins. And let's say when we speak about the top management that have a bit more of a free hands, they can be just as good with the smartphone application. And when we reach out of the perimeter, the people that are working from outside of the company can easily remain with the phones. Our employees that decided to stay at home that day, or they maybe stay at home on a regular basis, they can choose between smart card and smartphone. And everyone outside of the perimeter can be integrated with us with the smartphone app. So you can see this, it's a very flexible solution that is covering everything and everyone within and outside of the company. Of course, I mentioned 180 organizations as our references, so you can see we work with healthcare, we work with the largest banks, we can work with a small government organization as well as with the largest of ministries, for example. We have a lot of critical infrastructure companies relying to us, as well as from the manufacturing. So should you have any questions or should you be interested in any of those references, I'll be very happy to provide them, as much as I'm very glad to offer you a short meeting with me. As long as you would like to just discuss your current state of the security perimeter with your organization, if you would like to maybe get some recommendations about the tools that could be suitable, if you want to discuss your use cases, your needs, I'm definitely here for you. And of course, if you would like to try out our solution, we can offer a proof of concept free of charge. So I believe that's a nice offer, and I'll be very happy to hear from you in case you are interested. So from my side, that was everything today, and I'd like to thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Jiří, for those practical examples and tips. And that was a great way to wrap up our session. As we come to the end of today's webinar, I want to thank all of our speakers for their catchy presentations, and you, our participants, our audience, for your active participation and also for your patience because of our technical problems. Thank you for staying with us for all the time. If you have any question, as my colleagues said, and or need further information according any topic we mentioned today, please don't hesitate to reach out to our colleagues or to us at info@proid.tech, or you can use the link in the chat to ask us question directly, and we will be happy to answer, to go back to you, and we can discuss anything you need. You also find the email address in our website, but I hope you will use the link in the chat. It will be much more practical. As a bonus for joining us today, we will be sending everyone a practical brochure titled Multi-Factor Authentication at a Glance, where you will find some information about a strong multi-factor authentication and also some tips how to implement this type of secure layer in your organization. You can find it soon in your inbox. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for your patience. I hope you found today's session helpful, and have a wonderful day. We look forward to seeing you at one of our next webinar. Goodbye.